Poison Ivy, issue 26. G. Willow Wilson writing with Marcio Takara on the art. Take it away, Matt.
So we are in the what feels like the second phase of G. Willow Wilson and Marcio Takara's Poison Ivy saga. And so here we immediately jump into what these new stories are going to be. It starts with Janet from HR and Harley kind of living together within Gotham. And while Pam goes and does her Poison Ivy stuff, Janet's trying to get back into her regular life. And she's out grocery shopping at, what effectively is a Whole Foods. It's this overpriced grocery store that claims, to be healthier and more organic. We're getting some dialogue from her where she eats there or Pam sends her because it's a bit more ethical because of the stuff that they sell. And it kind of ends with this really big speech bubble of kind of the logical fallacies that are in trying to be a consumer in America. Of you got to eat this, but you can't eat that. And no, almonds are healthy, but they're bad. Growing them puts too much of a strain on the environment. So we have to find other sources. And as she's kind of having this inner struggle, some dude comes blowing past her out of the store with a spray paint. And on the outside of the store, it says the Green Knight lives. And she turns around, sees him running, and the store blows up. To where we get the news with Pam and nursing Janet back up, and the news is talking about there's this new eco-terrorist group called the Green Knight, or what are they called? Yeah, the Order of the Green Knight, and they are claiming responsibility for this, and that there will be more. So Pam's like, well, I have to look into this, but I also need to know what's going on with that little town that's popping up in Slaughter Swamp. So she heads out and she talks about how if forests are like the lungs of the earth, these wetlands and swamps are like the liver, and that they detoxify things. And so as soon as she steps foot in the water, right, it's some really gorgeous art from Takara. She's heading there at sunset. She's riding her bike. As soon as she steps foot into the water, she gets enveloped by her Poison Ivy. Kind of, I don't want to call it a costume, but it's, it's the green, it's the flowers and the grasses. And she starts heading inland into the swamp to find out what's up with the city. And when she gets there, she notices like there's some silt on the ground and algae, which would suggest that this town's been submerged. But if it's come up, why? Does it have to do with Woodrue? Is it other things that's going on? It's called Marshview, and it looks like it's straight from the 50s, right? A lot of the designs and stuff. So like, there's an old style barber shop and a city hall with the church right next to it in the center of town. And as Pam's going through, she sees like graffiti on the town that says, I see them too. And right after she sees that, she steps through this board, falls through, and then tries to call Janet. And Janet's on the phone with Croc because while Pam's out and about, Janet's trying to go to yoga. And as she steps out of their apartment, there's like a shrine to Pam at their door. There's candles, there's pictures of her, there's plants. It even looks like a rendering of a green person. I don't know if it's supposed to be Croc or Swamp Thing or whatever. So Janet gets a little bit weirded out by that. So she calls Croc because she's like, I have more friends than Pam. And Croc gets happy by that. He's like, oh, you want me to come over? Like, you actually like being around me? So he's on his way over. Pam finally gets through to Janet and is like, look, this is weird because, I study science. None of this is really making sense. And Janet brings up like the Green Knight, that she wonders if they have anything to do with this. And this is where Pam's like, I study science, not literature. So, help me out here. And she brings up that the Green Knight was this character from Arthurian legend who Sir Gawain had fought, and he, the Green Knight represented nature, and he was kind of this figure that nature was fighting back against whatever the knights were doing. And as Pam looks up into this town, suddenly there's two eyes up on the, painted onto this wall that weren't there before. And Pam mentions that feels like she's being watched. And as Janet gets back into the house, waiting, because she's gonna wait for Croc to show up, there's on the newscast, the Green Knight is the Order of the Green Knight is claiming that Pam is their leader, and that the authorities are now looking for Pamela Isley, and that's where the issue ends. So picking up on a lot of the seeds, for lack of a better word, that Wilson has seeded out there from the last issue, and and just Takara's art here is fantastic. The explosion at the beginning, a lot of harsh colors being used, because it's an explosion, which is balanced out by a lot of the softer colors in the sunset. So like there's oranges and yellows and stuff, right, in the explosion, but those are offset by the sunset with the softer versions of those. So there seems to be a balance of nature that's been going on. And just again, Takara's Pam is one of my favorite versions of her. She just, the red and the green are balanced so well. And there's almost a watercolorness to this. So looking like there's a version of Pam running out there that's running this organization, and that's why they're leaving stuff at her apartment with Janet. So yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this issue. I'm gonna give it an 8.5.